because the mic was off. I should have learned my lesson already. So there we go. So you should have sound now. Thank you, Max. All right. So I think we're good. I think we're hopefully good. All right. So let's get to it. So we're just going to start painting. I'll get switched over and we'll be good. The only thing we don't have, or now I could set it up, but right at this point, I'm not going to bother because we're already having, fun doing this, is the little palette cam. So what I'll do is, see if this, actually, I don't know if I have this camera set up, but we'll find out. Nope. So it's set. Oh, it is set. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. I may do a little bit of adjusting there. So there we go. All right. Enzo is good. Teresa, what's up? All right. So you guys are good. James, hello. Enzo, yeah, things are much better. Monday, on my way back in from Massachusetts. Somehow I ended up catching something. It was gross. So I feel better now. We're back at it. It's all good. I'm just going to switch one more thing just so we can get a little bit better, a little bit bigger view here for that. Let's go with that and that. And there we go. Yeah, a little bit bigger. Oops, that went too far. Let's try. Wrong way. Usually all this stuff is set up before. All right, so that's way too big. But give me 2 seconds. We'll straighten this out. Too small. What the heck? Oh, I know what I did. What the heck? All right, we're going to forget this. I'll set this up later. It's not worth it. All right, anyway. All right, let's get to it. Today is technical difficulty day. Hope you're enjoying it. All right, so we're going to do the engines today. So I got to figure out how to do this so I can, you guys can be in on this. Oh, today is one of those days. I may have to switch this over to the other side, which will be interesting. All right. See how close we can get. Yeah, you guys will be good there. All right, good. And I'll jump back to this. Hello, Jeff. What's going on? Cody Adams, what's happening? Jim, you're on. Jim Halcrow is on. Jim, you won the $1,000. Yeah, I wish. You won the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So what you can do, Jim, is I know we've kind of been missing each other on messages. So what you can do is you go to my website, which is stephenleahy.com, and look through all those 543 paintings. So you can just choose that category on the store and pick one of those black and white paintings, and I will ship that to you as your prize. So that's what all that was. You were the person I drew in that random drawing, and congratulations. So I'm glad I finally caught you for real. All right. Thanks, James. Yeah, I'm happy with the way this painting is coming out. Today's cheers, by the way, for me is coffee, but please feel free to enjoy whatever you're going to enjoy. That would make me happy as well. So yeah, so that's what's going on with that, Jim. I'm super glad you're on because I was having a hard time catching up with you. And I know you're in the UK. That's still okay. I will still ship that to you. So just let me know which one you'd like. So I'm doing a little setting up because what I have is, so the base photo that I have is actually the T-38 Talon was a great jet. Still is a great jet. And it was used for a lot of different things, used as trainers. Yeah, I was going to say Blue Angels, but not. The Air Force used it for the my brain is shot. So the Air Force, it's an Air Force jet. So so this is the photo that I'm using to kind of base the whole thing off of this painting. And what we're trying to do is make that look like, you know, something completely different. And that's where we're at. So we're going to hit those engines today. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I don't want to get, since I've already based in this whole area here. I'm just struggle busing it today hard. I've already blocked in all the black, and there's all kinds of stuff going on here. What's really neat about this is the body of the jet is going to have the names from the Vietnam Memorial wall. So there'll be names all along the side of the jet here and all along the tail and everything. And then there's the POWMIA logo is going to go on the actual tail. So so I don't want to get any gray paint on any of that. So what I'm going to use is the FBS gold tape. Now you guys have seen me use the gold tape a lot. This is the same stuff. But it also comes on a roll like this, which I know it's, well, let me back it up a little bit because you don't have to be that close. So it comes on a roll like this, and it has a backing to it too. So it's great it's made for masking, and that's what we're going to do with it. So I'm going to take a piece of this and just kind of lay it on top to protect that stuff that I've already done. If you guys have any questions, I'm just going to lean over and look at questions as we go. I will, mate. I've not been well, but I'll get around to it. I'll pay the postage, no problem. Okay, so there are two parts of that, Jim. One, I hope you feel better fast. And number two, you can take as long as you want. And part three is no, you will not pay the postage. So there you go. Jim, that's totally on me. I totally appreciate it. Honey Rivera, what is up? Good, Simon. I'm glad you're back. Excellent. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with that today. And it's funny, it's not surprising to me that things are going all sideways today with everything, because that's how today started for me as well. So why, you know, why have it be any different, I guess. All right, so what I'm doing is, so this is the adhesive on, you know, it's got adhesive on it. It's really thin. It comes on the backing sheet. So what I've done is I've peeled up half of it. So I'm holding like that. And then what I do is I just anchor the top of it and tack that down. And then what I can do is just with my thumb, I can just really lightly kind of squeegee this on while I'm pulling the backing paper off slowly. And what's nice is this gives you just a completely smooth, completely contacted mask. See how it got wrinkled down the bottom, or it came off the backing paper too fast? If I just pull it all off and try to put it down, sometimes you get wrinkles everywhere. So that's just a really easy way that ensures that that goes down really smooth every time. All right. There are a couple, like there's a little issue, not issue, but there's a little part of the tail that's sticking out there. So I'm just going to grab another piece of tape just to cover that up, because I don't want to take the chance. Over here I'm not really worried about, because I'm not going to get overspray all the way over here. So I don't have to worry about any of that. And I've got the whole tail covered up there too. So that's good. I've also missed a little bit of the body there too. What else we got? You guys, oh, it's awesome, 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 awesome. Honey, I am feeling better. I don't know, excuse me, I don't know what that was. It was a weird, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wait on this piece. I got to get that little corner right there. It's that I missed. I went down the wrong way. Excuse me. So I got to get that little teeny weeny corner there, but I'm going to do that after I cut it out. So I'll just throw this piece over the side and save it. All right. So what I'm going to do is now I've got the rest of this, the back side of it already masked off, so I don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run right along the black that's there, but I'm going to come in about, I don't know, like a 64th of an inch. So I'm not cutting right on the line. I'm cutting in a little bit, and that just is going to guarantee that when I'm done with this, I don't have a little white. You know, if I make this mask a little bit bigger and leave some of the white, it's just going to be something I'm going to have to fix later. And just by coming in just a 64th of an inch so that all that black is showing along the edge, that just guarantees that I won't have to worry about that. Do the same thing up the top. And that really small amount that I've kind of cut off won't make any difference in the end of the painting. So, oh, I went way too far. I'm on the masking right now. All right, so that's all I needed right there. Now, I ripped off a piece of tape, but I can use this tape here too, just because it's a scrap. Just reattach that and then just finish the piece that was left by itself. Oops, I'm going to do that. There we go. Good. So now the engines, the exhausts are all exposed and I'm ready to go. And now I don't have to worry about getting paint on any of this black. It would just, again, it's not a disaster. It's not the end of the world, but I'd have to really kind of, fix things, and just the less I have to do twice, the better. That's not going to work. All right. So I need. Sorry, I'm finagling. Hold on one second. That's going to work. Okay, good. Okay, so there are, this is actually going to be pretty straightforward, but what's going to be nice when it's done for you guys is it's going to have a kind of a cool, it works really, really well, the way this all kind of comes together. And it's kind of like a chrome effect in a way, because these are silver, but because of the way this jet is and the everything is pretty much dark, it has a little bit different idea than standard traditional chrome, where you see really the reflection of the sky in the top and then the ground on the bottom. The same kind of thing is going to happen with this, but only in the highlights. So you'll see what I mean when I get this going, but a lot of this is really, really dark. So it kind of really has a neat play to it. All right, and I think I got this down now. I'm kind of rolling around, and what I do want to do though, let me give this one more shot here. I've readjusted the numbers on the second camera, so let's try this. Let me put this back up here for a second. Yeah, that's better. Let's try this. Yeah, better. Okay. Set that back where it should be. Maybe a little bit bigger. Good. Okay, now you'll be able to see kind of a little bit of the palette anyway. This is not too much palette work, but still. All right, there we go. Good. All right. So again, there are two main highlights in this. There's the sky highlight, and then there's the ground highlight. So we're going to put those in first, because it's, again, like most things with airbrushing, it's easier to cover light with dark than dark with light. So I'm going to put the highlights in first, and then I'm going to paint everything else in. And it's not going to take very long, but that does have a neat effect. Let me jump back to this while that's going, so I can finish seeing your comments. Good. Okay. It seems like today is chaotic, and like I said, it is. So yay. So for the first, this little band right here, this is the ground highlight, or the ground reflection. Move you guys up just a hair. I can see it. Okay. Just make sure we're not moving. Okay. I'll keep an eye on that too. I'm going to start with a little bit of white. And yeah, I'll do this. I'll try to do this as much on camera, but you guys are, as you can see from the camera up above, the camera's right on here, so there's not too much room there to show you airbrushes and stuff. And then for the ground highlight, I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber, and it makes this kind of like almost like a skin tone color. Mix that in there. If you guys have any questions, like I said, I'll keep leaning over to look at the comments. And then by next week, I think I'm gonna have to come up with a different setup so I can make sure I can see the comments coming in. Oh, thanks, James. Very, very cool. What else did I miss? Did I miss anyone else? You guys are doing great. All right, good. All right, so there's what it looks like. You see in there, it's like a tan color, almost like a deep flesh color. So that's the bottom highlight here. So I'm just going to kind of lock that in after I get it to spray. So this is the lightest of the highlight or the reflection. And if you look at it, it is really skin tone, and it's easy. I mean, that's neat. It's a quick and easy way to make a really base skin tone. Burnt umber is a nice color for that. It's not too orange, it's not too red, it's not too brown. It's just a little bit of everything, and it ends up producing a pretty neat skin tone by itself. Will you be doing any class like what you would have done at the circus? Yeah, honey, there is a bunch of talk going on right now. The next one I think that's going to happen as soon as things shake out west. I think that probably the next class that I'll be doing for real will be at Coast, so that'll be exciting. I don't have any info on that yet because I know they're totally trying to figure out their move and everything. So yeah, but that I think will be the next one. All right, next thing I'm going to do, so that's the base reflection color. So what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of darkness to that. So what I think I'm going to use, I was kind of hoping I had a brown mixed up. I do from another painting. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Take a look at it. No, it's not. It's too gray. So, all right, I'm just going to do burnt umber. So again, well, can't really show you because it's too close, but you have to look at it in the overhead cam. So it's burnt umber, a little bit of reducer and 40-50 because I want this to be transparent, and then a touch of black. So I'll just use a little bit of the pre-reduced black just to kind of tone it down a bit. There we go. Yeah, I will keep everyone up on any new developments there, but I'm kind of what I've been doing, and this goes back to the circus, the art circus. I have kind of a standing ready to go thought in my head for the art circus. So if Rob gets things going, again, him and I had talked about doing a class. You know, I was going to do a class for the art circus before things kind of got crazy. So I would love to do that with him. And then after that, while I was talking about the art circus, I'd started talking to Dave at Coast, and we were talking about doing a class. So I try to honor those not promises, but you know, those things in the order that they come in. The other one that's on that same table is Createx. So Createx is right before the shutdown. We were talking about doing classes there too. So those are the three that I kind of gotta give first priority to. So whoever, you know, kind of gets ready and first, I guess that's the way that we're going to do it. So, all right. Here we go. So that's burnt umber and all that other fun stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of darken the edges of that a little bit. And again, this is really transparent, so I'm just going to kind of go really lightly with it. Now the reason for this is because the rest of the exhaust is really, really dark. So to go from like a really dark gray into this reflection color, straight with no help, would give it kind of a weird, harsh look. So this little boundary layer that I'm putting on each side of this reflection will just help that transition really well. And what's nice about this, if I do this transition first, when I go to put the gray on, I'm done. If I go and to put the gray on and then I have to add this transparent, umber color, there's a chance that that will also kind of affect the darker gray, and then I'd have to go fix the darker gray. So again, it saves an extra step, and it does, even if it didn't pan out the way I want, it just adds an extra layer of complexity to this, which is nice. So that's it. That's the reflection for the ground. For the next reflection for the sky, it's the same thing, except I'll use blues. So it'll be a light blue for the reflection itself, and then a little bit deeper blue for the boundary layers, and that'll be good. What else we got? Scott McKay, what's up, buddy? Talked with Dave, thinking it's going to be late summer, early fall. So there you go. So that's that, which will be good. So yeah, I guess that's what we're talking about. So that's good. So I'm finally getting back into catching up with all these feeds, which is great, because when I was away, I didn't, everything was so crazy on the trip. I didn't really get to watch any feeds. I got to see bits and pieces of them. So I'm glad I'm back on. Of course, Scott does his YouTube feed on Thursday nights tonight, Down and Dirty Tricks. So you can just follow him right there. And it's always a good time. All right, so for this, I'm going to use, it's going to make it easy for myself. I'm just going to use Wicked Daylight Blue. It's nice. It's pretty much the right color right out of the bottle. So I'm just going to put a drop of this in, and this is this is crazy bright in your face. So I'm going to put a drop of that. I'm going to calm this down a little bit with some white though, because it is a lot. So I'll put some white in there, and then a little bit of reducer too, like that. What else we got? Hi, Steve. May I ask nozzle size and air pressure, please? Yeah, absolutely, Adrian. So the nozzle size of this brush, this is a Iwata. I'll show it to you. This is an Iwata Custom Micron C. So this brush here is 0.23 millimeters. I do almost all of my work between 0.2 and 0.3. So depending on what I'm doing, what kind of paint I'm spraying, meaning like if I'm painting white exclusively, I'll use a little bit bigger nozzle, like a 0.3. But if I'm doing any kind of detail, it's this or lower. So 0.2 or 0.18, like the Micron B. As far as air pressure, I've been airbrushing for a long time, and back when I started airbrushing, paint was not as good as it is now, especially acrylic or water-based paint. So I just learned to spray at a higher pressure. So I generally spray higher than the average detail airbrusher. So I'm usually up around 35 to 40 pounds of pressure. And again, that's a common thing for people who have really gotten used to water-based paints as they were beginning airbrushing. Right now, though, this paint here, you could run this as low as 10 to 12 pounds of pressure and get some really nice atomization out of it. But I've always just run it high. I like the way that it breaks the paint off the needle. So hopefully that answers your question. I missed is a color daylight blue with a little bit of white. Yes, Simon, that's exactly it. Dan, what's going on, man? Yeah, we're working now. We've got our mess worked out. So yeah, so that's what this is. It's daylight blue with some opaque white. I've been trying to incorporate a lot more of the opaque line, use that as my baseline colors, because I just love the pigments and I love that it sticks like hell. So same deal here. I'm going to start with the lightest part in the middle after I get it to spray something other than white. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect. That's just the color I was looking for. And that's nice when that happens, but if it didn't, if it was too dark or too light, now is a good time to just kind of, make adjustments. But that's going to work out really, really well. So the other one here is above the ground reflection. So I want to go real slow developing this because it's so close to the ground reflection. I don't want to get blue on this because it'll just cancel out and turn kind of a muddy color. The orange in this and the blue in this will just kind of wrestle with each other. So I'm just, in order to avoid that overspray without having to, cover this or mask it, I'm just going really light. If I'm not putting on a ton of paint, then the paint I am putting on sticks to where it's supposed to be going. So. That's wonderful. All right, so we'll get rid of this. So for the blue, one of my favorite blues is cobalt blue. It's detail cobalt blue. I tend to go to that one a lot. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that for the deeper blue color. There it is. So that's detail cobalt blue right there. Oh, good, Adrian. Excellent. Yeah, it's one air pressure and nozzle size, and it's such a loaded question because it's usually associated, like a smaller needle size is associated with better detail, but there's so much more to it. And when people ask, I'm always hesitant because, for instance, if all I had was a 0.3 millimeter airbrush, I could do everything that I'm doing. Some of it would be harder, but I could do everything with that one brush. It's really nice that we have companies that are making such specific airbrushes, and nice that the technology and the manufacturing processes are getting so good that they can make things like that, because we can then be really specific about how we line up those airbrushes with the paint that we're spraying. It's so much more than, if you want to do detail, get a smaller needle and nozzle brush. And the way I prove that to people is you look at guys like Scott or Kent Lint, or artists that had either begun airbrushing on t-shirts or continue to airbrush on t-shirts. You give those guys a 0.5 millimeter airbrush, which is really kind of a larger airbrush in today's world, and they can get the finest lines with that brush, like ridiculously small lines. And the reason why is because they excel at matching up the type of paint with their airbrush. So yeah, it's interesting. All right, so there's the phthalo blue. I'm sorry, cobalt blue. What I'm going to do to that, though, is I'm going to add just a little bit of reduced black to that, just one drop. And then I'm going to add same thing, that reducer and 40/50. So the black, what that does is that takes that just that brilliant cobalt blue down a notch, so that's not so intense. And the colors coming in after that, the rest of the engine exhaust is like a gray and black anyway, so this will act as a nice buffer. Okay, same deal here. I don't have to be as careful to avoid getting it on the orange here, because there's a boundary layer between these two that's really gray and dark. So I just don't want to get this blue color on the really light part. That would be unfortunate. the top side of that. And again, if you're just joining us, the reason why I'm kind of outlining these highlights or these reflections with a darker color is to help it transition between the really dark colors that are coming after this and that will fade into these colors. Makes it much smoother. Okay, that's wonderful. Actually, I want to make this one darker. Like that. That's better. What am I missing? Simon Carter, the opaques really do stick well. I was running some dots and dagger drills on aluminum panels that had no prep, 5 minutes of drying time, and the water mix or isopropyl wouldn't wipe it off. Happy little adjustments, exactly. Yeah, so here's my opaque white story, and I have a visual for you, so back this out just a little bit. All right, so my wet palette came with this, they call it a wavy reservoir or something. They call it, but anyway, so this is what it is. And this just clicks onto the bottom of this wet palette right here. So I always use this for reducer. So when I'm, grabbing a little bit of reducer for the paints, that's what I put in it. But when I first got it, I put opaque white in the center, thinking it would be nice to have some opaque white that was just, that wasn't on the wet palette. It was just in a regular reservoir. I cannot get that paint out of there. If you notice how shiny all the other cups are, I even used Createx Restorer in that cup, so much so that it ruined the plastic. It's not shiny anymore in there, and I still could not get that blob of paint out. So that's my opaque story for Createx. Whatever they put in it is insane. Oh, I like it. All right. So the next up is, actually that's kind of nice. Yeah, okay, that's good. All right, good. Never mind. All right, next up is going to be the gray for the rest of the engine exhausts. So there's some variation there too, and we're going to kind of handle that the same way that I did everything else. I always try to put the light tones down first and then put the darker tones on top of that. It just saves a lot of, like I said, it saves a lot of aggravation as far as blue shifting and weird things that are going on. So just going to grab a gray real quick. Oops, I don't want to leave that in there. All right. So what I'm going to do is start with a little bit of white. I can't do this because it doesn't work. So where am I doing this? Up here. There we go. So a little bit of white. Start with a little touch of black. Make a gray out of this. And again, we're looking for a lighter gray to start. It might be too light. It is. Yeah, it's better. Well, it's not too light too. So I missed you guys on Thursday. I'm glad I'm back. And I like the way the Thursdays work over here. I love that you guys are just kind of in with whatever is actually on the bench for that week. That makes me happy. What else we got? Adrian, understood. I've just dropped my water from 0.3 to 0.2 and trying to find paint and pigment is more important now. Your white and brown seem to be difficult. Blue and black loads better. Yeah, Adrian, that's exactly it. So when I'm doing, if you've seen all those black and white paintings I do, all those 543s, I have a 0.3 millimeter brush just for the white because you're right. It's just too much of a bear to kind of get through the really, really super small brushes when the 0.3 sprays the stuff amazingly. So that's good. Mr. Webb, what's going on? Awesome. Yeah. So, all right. So there's my gray. Got gray now. What I'm going to do is this is kind of the base, but it's also what it's going to do is it's going to set up all the highlights later on. I'm not going to put any, oh, it's all white. I'm not going to put any highlights in on this, really, a little bit, but not a lot. So this is actually going to act as all the highlights. And I know it seems dark right now, but when I get the really dark area in, it'll make more sense. So that goes in anywhere, basically where it's going to be the lightest, but I'm also going to use it to kind of set the stage for this boundary layer too. So that drops in that in the middle of it too, which is good. All right, and a little bit on the bottom of this one too. Good. Excellent. Okay. So I got a lot of paint in there. I don't need that much. So I'm just going to dump out. I'm going to dump it out, but I'm not going to spray it out so that I still have some paint there at the bottom. So I'll end up adjusting this now by making it a lot darker. I think it's going to take probably 2 or 3 different values to kind of get me where I want to be with this. So this is more of a charcoal gray color. This is going to appear black when I spray it out, but it's not going to be black, which is nice. What else do I got? Everyone's saying hello. Oh, thanks, honey. It's in, yeah, because I mean, at this stage now of this channel, I can go live on my mobile device. So if I am on the road, I can still go live. But I didn't have anything to paint when I was away. I thought I was only going to be away for a weekend, and I ended up being away for 3 weeks. So it left me with not a lot of painting to do on the road. All right, so the darker color now. So I'm going to spray this. I know it's going to be too thick to give me a decent fade. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spray the areas that are left. I'm not going to spray the fades yet, and I'll show you what I'll do to get that to work. So right now I'm just going for coverage. If when I'm ready to do the fades, I'm going to have to thin this way out. But if I thin it out for the fades before I've got the coverage, it's just going to take forever for me to fill in those areas that I need to fill in. So I'm just kind of relying on the strengths of the paint. But you'll also, I don't know if you can see it, but this is going on fairly grainy, again, which is why it won't fade very well. But it's covering really well. So I'm gonna take that, and then we'll adjust it after. Good, 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 good. It's also the very outside edge of this. I shouldn't do this because I should thin it a little bit before I do this, but I'm going to start it here. So the very end of the exhaust here is darker too. So I'm going to get that in there now. Good. Same thing with where it kind of attaches to the jet. It's a little bit darker, so I'm going to throw that in now too. All right, I still have a lot of material in there. Same thing, I'm going to just dump it out, but I'm not going to spray it out or rinse it out. So now what I'm actually going to wipe this out a little bit though, because there is still a lot of paint in there in the inside of the cup. What I want is just a little bit of paint left in it. There we go. So that's just paint left in the bottom of the cup right now. So now what I can do is I can grab the reducer and 4050. So again, if you're new and don't know what I'm doing with this stuff, I'll explain it real quick for people who are new. I have the gloss bottle over here? I do. So what this is, back it up a little bit so you're not jammed in the middle of it. This is Createx UVLS gloss, which I use for a lot of different things, but its main use around my studio is it acts like a transparent base. So it's when I want to make the paint more transparent, but still have the same ability to stick. This is the main component of that. This will allow me to do that. So what I do is I take one part of this and then whatever ratio of the reducer that is the reducer for the whole line. This is Createx 4011 reducer. You can't really see it because of the paint on it. But so in this instance, for this mix, it's 1 part 4050 and 10 parts reducer. And that will give me this kind of milky reducer. So I can reduce the paint, but it still keeps its strength. In this instance, the 1 to 10 mix is more of my detail mix. I have them in all different ratios. So here's 1 to 2. So that's, 1 part 4050 to 2 parts reducer. That's fairly thick. I have a super reduced one, which is 1 part 4050 to 20 parts reducer. And they come all in between. 1 to 5 is one I use a lot too. This is, again, the 4050 is always the first number for me. So it's 1 part 4050 to 5 parts reducer. So this will give a really strong bonding kind of reducer too. But for this, because I'm looking for detail, I'm going with the 1 to 10. I use the 1 to 10 probably more than anything. It's just a nice mix. So now I've got a bunch of paint in there now with the reducer. It's all mixed up. Slide over here and look at comments. 543 is a certain painting he does on Mondays. Yes, Mark, thank you. Oh, too new to know. Neb, thank you. Do I have one? Give me a second, Neb. I'm going to grab one because you're right behind me. And I'm back. It's literally on the shelf behind me, so that works out good. Back up a little bit. Oh, it is backed up. Okay, so this is a 543. It's a black and white painting, just uses Createx, and I paint them on UPO, the polypropylene paper. And the fun part about this, it's become a really fun part of the Monday night feed. The people who are on the feed will make suggestions for me each week, and then that following week I'll pick 5 of those suggestions and do 5 paintings. And then we give away one of the paintings each week to anyone who had suggested a painting. So this is one of them, my little origami swan. Sometimes I go overboard on them, like this one. This one, it's obviously not black and white only. This has the skull is 23 karat gold leaf. But they're called 543s because I do 5 of them, and every single one of them is 4 inches by 3 inches. So that's it. And here's kind of a standard 543. So it gives you an idea. It's just black and white. And like I said, people will pick a topic or something to do, and I'll pick them and we'll do it. And that's how they come. So these, any of the ones that don't get picked, I just put on my website. So they're all for sale. And all the ones I do for the giveaway, those 5 per week, they're always discounted. They're always half off. So if anyone wants one of these commissioned, there's an item on the website for that too, and you could just tell me what you'd like. I do keep them to a certain time limit, so it allows me to put them up for the price that they're up for. So if you do commission one and you say you want like the Manhattan skyline with all the windows and everything, I will politely decline. So just keep that in mind as you get into it. But that's the story. That's the 543. And sometimes you paint on razor blades. Sometimes I do that. All right. So that's the insider information that you get by being on my YouTube channel right now. So the next open studio painting is going to be a razor blade painting. So you'll be able to see a razor blade painting from the very beginning to the very end. All right, so back to painting. So this is the mix. It's all in there. It's all ready to go. So now what I can do with this color, it's the same color as what I just used, but because it's reduced and it has that 40-50 in it, it sprays so much finer. Like there's so much more atomization to it. So now what I can do is I can do those transitions between. I can do those fades now, where I couldn't really do them before because they were too you know, the paint was coming out too grainy, really. It wouldn't let me fade it the right way. Or even, you know, produce a really sharp edge if I wanted to. So I'm just going to soften all the edges now. And again, those colors that I put in the beginning, those extra colors, the darker blue and the darker, you know, orangey color, that's what this is for. So that's the transition that's being helped along right now. If I just sprayed this darker color on those highlight colors, it would have given me like this really weird kind of bluish gray on both. So I don't, you know, I didn't want that. I'm still going to bump it around a little bit after, but because I kind of did it preemptively, it just saves me a bunch of, you know, it just saves me a bunch of work in trying to really make that happen. Good. What else did I miss? Oh, thanks, Mark. Manhattan on a razor blade. Yeah, that was one of my favorite blades. Thanks for the tangent. You got it, Neb. No problem. Yes, and honey, I just saw your comment from before. Yes, thank you all for getting me to my first milestone, which is that 1,000 subscriber. I did have another YouTube channel for a while that I never really used, and then I started this one as a kind of a place marker, and I never used this one. And so last year, the end of last year, I decided to put in the real effort, you know, put in some real content on this channel. And I've been super happy with the way that you all have received it and how it's growing. And it's going to be a big part of this year. So I'm excited about that. All right, so that is done. That's all the gray. The next thing I'm going to do is the darkest color, the black. This is going to be same thing. It's going to be a reduced black, but I use this, well, mostly because of those 543s, but I have all the black already pre-reduced, so it's ready to go. Because with those 543s, I really try to keep those to under 2 hours a piece. So in order to do that, everything needs to be as efficient as possible. So the black and the white are already pre-reduced here. It's the only colors I pre-reduce because I go through so much of it. So this is 1 to 10. So it's just black. And what I'm going to do now is I can start really darkening in some of the areas, and this color will allow me to add any kind of details that I want. So there are basically it's like turkey feathers basically on the back of this exhaust. So these exhausts can open and close. They can constrict and open up. So a lot of those details you can kind of get a hint of. Again, this part of the jet is on the shaded side, so you can't see as much of it, but I can certainly indicate some of it here, which is nice. And that's what this color will do. This color, I mean, you know, the black, this mix of black. So I can really darken areas that need to be darkened up. And everything works out. So the basic idea with the black is the same thing. I could come in with the black right away and just start putting it in. But in order to transition on to the other areas, if I didn't have those boundary colors, it would look really rough. It would be difficult to get it all kind of the way it should. So now I can put some details in on the skyline behind. Maybe there's like, I don't know, mountains or something that you can just barely see. What I find with chrome, especially when you're kind of putting it in, you know, in a way that really doesn't exist, I find less is more, because if I start making stuff up, it can look real gimmicky really fast. So I really try to hold myself to not, the way I described it is not puking all over it. It tends to show when you get excited about something and put a whole bunch of extra stuff in that doesn't need to be there. That's when things start not looking real. So this is a real good opportunity too. If there's something that's maybe too bright, like the blue is too bright or the orange is too bright, which the orange is, I can use this color now, this really thin black, to kind of very gently just take the edge off that. I could do a little bit on the blue. I don't want to do too much because I really like that blue. I like that it's bright. Yeah, that's looking good. All right, the last thing I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to pump up the color a little bit. So I have red oxide also pre-mixed, so I'm just going to put a little bit of that in the brush. Red oxide is a great color. I use red oxide a lot. It's, even though you can't see it, it looks like brown here. It sprays very orange. It's actually, red oxide is my go-to orange color. And I'll show you, because I just put it in this brush, so I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to do a little bit on the ground reflection here. So this just adds a little bit more of that orangey color. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, like, I don't know, I don't want to call it texture, but a little bit of variation in that. Just to kind of break it up, and I don't want it to look too, too smooth. Leaning back just to kind of get a look at it. I feel like this boundary area needs to be a little bit bigger too, so adjust that too. Steve, everything you do is hard to see unless you use a microscope. Thank you, JC. That's awesome. Lee Jordan, what's up, buddy? Sorry I'm late. Been to see my niece drumming. Oh, that's awesome, Lee. Very cool. All right, so I'm gonna kind of bring up this boundary layer a little bit too. So I'll go back to the black for that. I didn't even clean out the brush. There's still red oxide in there, but it's okay if it all mixes together at this point for this kind of stuff. And the general rule of thumb that I find I use when I'm painting is, as the colors get more intense, there's less of that on there. So this is black, it's just straight black. But this is what I'd use to get really in tight and create some details and that kind of thing. So I'd never use this well, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but for the most part, I'm not using this in the beginning of the process at all. The really intense blacks and the really intense highlights, they'll always come in at the end, and there's less paint of that, for that type of paint. So, I feel I need to add a little bit more brown to this too. It's feeling a bit orange, but it's working. It's working. Yeah, I'm going to dull this out a little bit with the black again. And so when I get into this stage where I'm like kind of making minor adjustments, I'll do a little bit and then lean back, well, I'll lean back for you guys like that. So I'll lean back and look at it and kind of figure out what it needs. And then I'll get back in close and work on it again. It's easier to make those minor adjustments and then lean back and then add a little bit more. It's certain, I say this all the time, and I've heard this from other artists say it all the time too, because it's true. It's always easier to add paint than it is to try to take it off. Like if I go too dark and I have to lighten this, I literally have to repaint that area that I'm working on, not the whole thing, but yeah. So it's always easier to just kind of take it slow and make sure you're not going overboard. Now, the black is kind of a brownish black anyway, so it does work really well for this kind of thing. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I think I need a little bit more blue in this too, so let's start with that. Same deal. I'm just going to use a little spray out pot and get rid of the black that's in there, and I'm just going to wipe out the cup so I don't have any black in the, you know, the top upper part of the cup. But I'm not going to rinse it out or anything. I don't have to go that far. Let's do the blue first because I don't have that mixed up anywhere. I'm going to put some on the palette. And it's the same deal. I dropped on the floor, so I'll use 5 to 1, 1 to 5. A little bit of the reducer mix. A little bit of the blue. This I am going to go straight up cobalt blue. I added a little bit of black to this last time, and obviously the white to it, but I'm going to go straight ahead because I want a really good strong tint of this. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken the top edge of this blue. And this, again, this is something that's easier to see as the section is going along. Couldn't see this in the beginning because I was comparing it to the white of the rest of the, you know, the engine before I had it finished. But now I can see it. So I'm just going to go over the top part of the reflection, and that'll give the sky that transitional blue feel from the upper sky to the lower sky where it's really, really deep blue. And it'll really do two things. It'll also kind of tone down that whole thing. Because I don't want this to be the star of the show. I just want it to look like what it's supposed to look like. That's good. I was going to add a little bit of brown to this, but actually I like the way it looks right now. So I'm going to leave it and see how it, see how it looks as I go along. So what's going to happen is as I work on this painting and I finish, different parts of it, I may find that, yeah, I do need to add more brown to that at the end, but it's the same exact deal. I'd rather, if I'm on the fence, leave it alone. And then find later on that I can add a little bit more to it or less, and then just be all set. So now we're going to unmask and see what it looks like. Because again, I don't want to add too much to this. All right, so I painted the black yesterday, and again, this is opaque black, so I'm fully expecting this to not peel up at all. But I'm still removing, the masking paper gently. I don't want to take any chances. Again, the opaque black sticks really, really well, and this ampersand board that I'm working on accepts the paint really, really well. So you got all kinds of good things happening there, and I don't want to take a chance. That makes me happy. That looks good. I wanted that chrome look. I didn't want it to be too in your face, and it reads really, really well. Underneath all this right now is just a pale blue sky. I'm going to adjust it after. So that's how that looks. I would love to peel all this up to show you, but I have so much more work to do and I don't want to remask it, but hopefully you get the idea. The other thing I want to show you too is where some of this missed. And in the beginning when I masked this off and told you I came in a little bit, like a 64th of an inch, I want to show you why I did that and where it didn't really work. If you look really closely to this, why is this not staying where I want it to stay? Oh, because that's loose. Sorry. Come on, focus for me, bud. Come on. Interesting. We're too close. All right, hold on. So you see that really faint white, that really thin white line? That's because the mask wasn't quite where it needed to be. In this instance, it's a super easy fix. And this is when I would do this so I don't forget it later. What did I do with my reducer? Lost my reducer. All right, anyway. So I'll just take a little bit of black in a regular paintbrush. And I can just kind of run around that and clean it up. So had I cut that a little bit better so it didn't, leave that gap, then I would be done. So that's kind of why I try to pay attention when I'm doing it so I don't have to do it twice like I'm doing now. It's not major, but again, when you have a painting that's going to take a really, a lot of hours to pull off, any kind of time that you can avoid doubling up is worth it. So I'm just going to fill the gap in, and that's it. That makes me happy. All right, let me back you guys way up so you can kind of see the whole thing. Do this, and I'm going to center you guys too a little bit more than you were before. Let's see, we'll do this and this. And turn this off. So yeah, so there we go. You get most of it anyway. So yeah, so there we go. So again, all this in the background, get rid of this too. Everything in the background is right now is pale blue. What I'm feeling on this right now, because the jet is so involved, there's like picture eventually all the Vietnam War memorial names are on here. There's gold leaf stars that are going to be running along here. These white areas on the leading edges are all going to be gold leaf as well. The eagle is going to be really like highly detailed, almost photorealistic on the top and on like his shoulders, and then that photorealistic brown from the eagle is going to transition into red and white stripes, so on the actual eagle. So there's a lot going on in this. So originally I was thinking, you know, we put clouds and all this stuff, but I think because the jet has so much going on, I'm just going to do a really nice transition, like from a deep blue down to the lighter blue, and leave it at that. I think it'll really help this whole thing pop off, especially because the gold and also the parchment color of the Constitution, I think that'll really help it kind of show off everything that the jet's got going on. So there you go. What'd I miss? Steve, are you regulating paint and air with just a trigger, or full air all the time and just regulate paint? Thanks again. Adrian, absolutely. No, that's what we're here for all the questions. No, I always just keep the air on all the time. On this, what's nice about this, well, actually, I got, this Micron's about 2 years old. This was from Iwata, which was really, really cool. But a lot of the Iwatas, the higher end Iwatas now have the little MAC valve right here. I've never used it. I've never had airbrushes with it. So whenever I buy an airbrush, like where is it? My B is brand new, and I got the B without the MAC valve because I don't really use it. However, my friends at Grex now offer this inline air valve, so you can actually adjust the amount of air right from the airbrush. So that's the way I would do that if I needed to adjust the air. But no, for the most part, or for always, the air is always on for me. It's blue in there. I don't want to do that. So hopefully that answered that. This piece is going to be incredible. Love the concept and design. Thanks, Simon. I can't take credit for the design. The gentleman who is commissioning this painting had an extremely clear idea of what he wanted, which was so much fun to work with. There was interpretation from me, like to try to take his idea and kind of make it look real. But there was never, he knew exactly what he wanted, which is refreshing. It's been a blast to work with him. Minor adjustments, you mean? Yes, micro minor. Yes, thank you, JC. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Lee, I really like that valve. And like I said, I don't use them that often. I'll use them on stippling, like a lot. Like I'll lower the air pressure enough so that I can create that really nice stipple pattern. But I don't find I'm making a million adjustments while I'm painting. Like, oh, this type of paint uses a half a pound of pressure less than this pound. I'm not that sensitive. I'm sure there are artists that are that sensitive with the paints that they use, and that's amazing. It's just that's not, I don't have that sensibility. So, and again, I've used high pressure all the time. So for me, it's like if it's not 30 pounds of pressure, it's, it's not enough anyway. So that's it. But yeah, all the brushes I have are usually MAC free, unless they don't come any other way. I don't have my, I don't have my my Badger, my Patriot has them. They all have Mac valves on them because, or pack valves is what they call them, because they just come with them. So, yeah. That's it. So I'm just checking on the comments. You guys are awesome. All right, so I think that's going to be it for today. I'd love to keep working on this with you, but what's going on with this as well is I'm doing videos of this as I'm working on it, and then at the end, as part of this whole painting, you'll actually be able to see this video of different parts of this being painted and put together, both as just regular real-time video and then also time-lapse videos. For instance, the next video I'm going to do is I'm going to time-lapse the entire cockpit painting. So, so you'll be able to see, that whole thing coming together. I'm going to do the same thing with the eagle head, I think, and then there'll be parts they'll go leafing and all that fun stuff. So that's, I can't really start another section right now because I'd have to, video it in a way that would not make a good live video. So, yeah. So I think that's where we're called. Plus, I need to get back to those 543s because I'm in the process of painting the 5 new ones for Monday. So be the first time in a few weeks that I've had 5 new ones, and I need to get that done. So that's what I got. I'm going to move this off a little bit so it's not in the way when I swap the camera around. So I'll give you guys the other view over here. It's the oblong view. And I hope this is the right one. I think it is. It is the right one. All right, good. So that's what I have on this Thursday. So thank you for jumping back in. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I loved being home. It was amazing spending so much time there. All my kids are there, and we got to hang out a lot. So while, the circumstances were what they were, we still got a lot of good quality time there. So I did love my time at home. However, like I said, I didn't get to paint at all. So that was not good. So it's good to be back and painting and back online and all that fun stuff. So that's what I got. Next week, I don't know where. I have an idea of what I'll be working on next week around Thursday. So I'll leave it as a surprise just in case. Yeah, but we're back on schedule. The other thing I've been doing on the YouTube channel is I've been putting up little short videos of different paintings. So it's nice because they're really short. They're only 9 seconds long. I'm just putting up a whole ton of stuff. So every day there'll be a new painting. And I have plenty of work to do that with. So if you're into it, just watch for those shorts. They're a different format than what all the other short videos that I've been seeing is. So you'll know they're mine, and I hope you enjoy them. And that's what I got. So again, like and subscribe, please. That would be awesome. The bigger it gets, the more things I can do. So I'll just throw it out there, and I desperately appreciate everyone who's on board. You're all charter members. You're all into the beginning. And thank you, Jim, for being on today. I guess that's what I mean to say. It's good to catch up with you, and I'm glad you're going to get your painting too. So that's what I got. So for Steve Leahy and Thursday Live, thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, hope you have a great week, great weekend, and I'll see you next time. All right, take care.